প্ৰিন্সিপাল ছাৰ শুনিছে না ছাৰ মাতটো?
শুনিছো।
আচ্ছা, থেংক ইউ ছাৰ। Remy sir, please unmute yourself. Remy sir.
Yes, sir.
শুনিছে না ভালকে?
শুনিছো।
প্ৰিন্সিপাল ছাৰ শুনিছে না ছাৰ মাতটো?
শুনিছো। মোক শুনিছে না?
হয় ছাৰ শুনিছো ছাৰ, ভালকে শুনিছো ছাৰ।
ঠিক আছে।
পাল ছাৰ মোৰ মাতটো শুনিছে নেকি?
শুনিছো। ঠিক আছে। অলপ পিছত 10 মিনিট পিছত কাকো সোমাব নিদিবা।
Remy sir, প্ৰগ্ৰামটো ইউটিউবত লাইভ হৈ আছে হা। হেল্ল' Remy sir শুনিছে না?
হয়।
ইউটিউবত লাইভ ষ্ট্ৰীমিং হৈ আছে।
ঠিক আছে।
Rajeshri, please unmute yourself. Rajeshri, please unmute yourself. Remy sir উজ্জ্বল জয়েন কৰা না?
উজ্জ্বল জয়েন কৰিছে। কৰি আছে ছাৰ, কৰি আছে।
Yes, our resource person is arrived. Pranabjyoti sir. Sir, শুনিছে না? Pranabjyoti sir. Sir, please unmute yourself. Pranabjyoti sir, please unmute yourself. Rajeshri, please confirm. Rajeshri, please confirm whether you can hear me or not. Pranabjyoti sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, যদি আপনি স্যার শুনা না স্যার, আপনি স্যার মিটিং স্যার জাস্ট লিভ করে আকৌ জয়েন করে দিক স্যার এবার। Remy sir. ছাৰৰ লগত এটা জাষ্ট কমিউনিকেট কৰি লোৱা হয়তো কিবা টেকনিকেল প্ৰব্লেম হ'ব পাৰে
হয় হয়
Yes, Pranavjyoti sir, I think you can hear me, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Pranavjyoti sir. Sir, শুনিছে না?
Hello, Principal. Hello. Good term.
শুনি আছে না
Good. Hello, Principal.
স্যার
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes. You are audible perfectly.
Yeah. All right.
Let's we start.
Yeah. As you wish. As you wish.
Is you ready? Everyone ready?
sir
Start করা Start করা
sir can we start now
Yes, start.
আবার রিপিট করবা
Where pictures vanished?
তোমার 2 মিনিট রবা মোৰ ল্যাপটপ হ্যাং হৈছে ৰবা 1 মিনিট ৰবা আহিব ৰবা
Hello, Ujjwal.
Ujjwal, start it. Hello.
hello
Yeah.
sir I think
Yeah.
there has been some technical problem with Pal sir's laptop so he asked me to wait for a few minutes no it's okay sir Pal sir
Okay. It is okay. It is.
Starting.
Give me 1 second. Biswak, just give me 1 second.
oh sure
Ujjwal as co-host. Yes, Ujjwal, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself. Ujjwal.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I think you can hear me.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Rajashree, please, Rajashree, give your confirmation. Hear me or not? Yeah, just 1 minute. Okay, Rimpu, so we can start. Otherwise, we will take because Rajashree has the role at the last, so no problem. We can start.
Okay, sir. So we'll start the program. A very warm good afternoon to our respected principal, sir, our learned and eminent resource person, faculty members, and all the esteemed participants. Myself, Rimbiso Terampi, assistant professor and coordinator of the webinar, will be the host for today's session. On behalf of the Department of Economics, I extend a warm welcome to all of you to today's webinar titled Current Status of Indian Economy, Various Implications and Perspectives, organized by the Department of Economics, Collier College. Through this webinar, we aim to foster a deep understanding of various aspects of Indian economy, highlighting its current status, the implications of recent policies and reforms, and your potential implications on different sectors. We have the privilege of hosting an esteemed resource person, Sri Pranab Jyoti Das, sir, who brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to shed a light on this crucial topic. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would now request our respected principal, sir, to offer his welcoming address. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am deeply delighted to inaugurate a webinar on a highly relevant topic, and that's to be enlightened by researchful deliberation of Honorable HOD Vijay Das, Department of Commerce, Durham College. I had opportunity to work together with him for the last 23 years. I know him the best. His enriched knowledge is treasure trove. And I believe that the barricade of knowledge of our participants will definitely expand with the dissemination of his thoughts with us. Today, right now, I welcome everyone to this webinar and express my deep sense of gratitude to our research person for agreeing to spare his valuable time for our own course. I once again thank everyone for doing the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Principal, sir. I would now request Sri Ujjal Sood, sir, Assistant Professor and Co-Coordinator of the webinar, to briefly introduce our esteemed resource person to the audience, sir, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Madam. Respected Principal, sir, our respected esteemed resource person, Pranab Jyoti Das, sir, dear participants, respected participants. First of all, welcome to our webinar. It is with great pleasure and honor I introduce our esteemed resource person, Sir Pranab Jyoti Das, who is an Associate Professor and SOD, Department of Economics, Durham College, Tezpur. Sir has completed his undergraduation from Cotton College. Sir completed his PG from Guwahati University and awarded gold medal. Sir was posted in Haflong Government College in 1992, but joined Durham College instead. Sir was also selected in Dibrugarh University, but stayed back in Durham College. As an associate professor at Durham College, Sir has been instrumental in shaping the mind of countless students.
Jal, I think some disturbance is there. It is part.
Today, we are very fortunate to have Mr. Pranab Jyoti Das, sir, as our resource person, as he will be sharing his profound insight on the current status of Indian economy, as well as various implications and perspectives. His expertise and perspective will undoubtedly enrich our understanding and ignite meaningful discussions. Personally, I feel humbled and honored to welcome Pranab sir as a student in today's webinar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ujjal, sir. I would now request our esteemed resource person to kindly deliver his speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Principal Dr. Uttam Kumar Borua, my dear friend, who was my colleague, as he has said, he was my colleague for 23 years in the Durham College. He was in the Department of Commerce. I was in the Department of Economics. Respected faculty members of Koliabor College, my dear students who are working as assistant professors in Koliabor College, Ujjal Sood, Rajashree Pai, other faculty, respected faculty members, and dear students, and various other participants, my respected participants. the arrangers of today's webinar, the economics department, Koliavar College. It's my I welcome all to this August gathering. I welcome all to this August gathering. It's my great honor. It's my great privilege to have been invited to talk on this very interesting topic, the burning topic, the current status of the Indian economy, various perspectives and implications. So, various perspectives and implications and working of the Indian economy, status of the Indian economy. So obviously, we have to properly throw light on the working of the Indian economy, the current status of the Indian economy. We have to start from 2 or 3 years back actually. Actually, the last 2 or 3 years, the years wreaked havoc by the pandemic. These 2-3 years were wrecked the economies of various countries of the world. They were devastated actually when the pandemic wreaked havoc amongst these economies, jeopardized the normal functioning of these economies. Some economies are limping back to normalcy. Some economies are limping back to normalcy, while some others are still in the shadow of the devastations caused by the pandemic. Now, India is amongst those economies which has been able to come out from the evil shadow of this pandemic. Whichever may be the reasons, whatever may be the effectiveness of the policies, the point is that, as World Bank has pointed out, as International Monetary Fund has pointed out, India has come out from this evil shadow of the pandemic. Of course, some sectors were hugely affected by this pandemic. For example, the tourism sector. Throughout the world, actually, tourism sector was affected very negatively, in a huge negative way, by this pandemic. And in case of India, it was the tourism industries, the export sector also faced a setback. The exports faced a setback because the consumption capacity, the purchasing power of the people of the world as a whole declined. They could not maintain their spending capacity. They could not maintain their consumption patterns. This happened also in India. This happened also in the case of India. Aggregate demand fell, aggregate demand plummeted actually. In many cases, there were huge unemployment because large numbers of laborers were waved up. They got unemployment over the night. They could not support their families. We could see thousands of laborers coming on foot for hundreds of kilometers, or by mounting buses, trains, etc., etc. Many devastations were caused by the pandemic, obviously. But the bright point is that India has been able to come out from this evil spell. That is the point. India has been able to come out from this evil point in a very good way. might have been due to some of the policies undertaken by the finance minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, and some other factors are there with a huge population of about 140, more than 140 crores. In fact, 140 crores, the aggregate demand is very high in case of India. The aggregate demand, so the India's response or India's recovery was mainly driven by aggregate demand. It was mainly driven by consumption demand. It was mainly driven by consumption demand rather than by investment, because investment reached low levels during the financial years 2020-21 and 2021-22. Of course, from 21-22, investment, both private and public, it showed positive developments. It showed positive growth patterns. Whatever may be the point, in a nutshell, you can say that India has well recovered from the evil spell, which was caused by the pandemic. This well could be the reason that India has been designated as a bright spot by the World Bank. And in fact, many economists believe that for the world, it is a lost decade. The 20s is a lost decade. On the other hand, it could well be India's decade. It can well be India's decade. The 20s decade, that is starting from 21-22 to 29-30. Actually, there are many data. Bahut data ase. Yes, I have been also asked to interact in Assamese as well. Bahut data ase. There are many data which support this particular viewpoint. There are enough reasons. There are enough data to believe this fact that India will be the leader in the coming decade. India will be the leader who will take along the various economies along with it in the growth trajectory. The point is that to accurately peruse, to accurately analyze these things, we have to rely upon, obviously we have to rely upon data. We have to rely upon database. And you know that the people from economics, you know that economics is often designated as a science. And why science? Because most of the forecasts based on economics are always proven to be true. And it is proven to be true because it is based upon some authentic data. In India, this authentic database is provided by NSA, National Sample Survey Organizations is there. National NSO is there. So they provide data on various things. They provide data on various sectors. They provide data on the working of the Indian economy on different directions in respect of different sectors, in respect of different states, etc., etc. Now the point is that just as a human's health, a particular human's health can be analyzed, is analyzed by the doctors by looking at the various indices like hemoglobin level, blood pressure level, creatinine level, and various other things. Similarly, there are some economic indices. They can be designated as macroeconomic parameters. They can be designated as macroeconomic parameters. These macroeconomic parameters, data on these macroeconomic parameters throw quite sound lights on the status of a particular economy. Of course, advantages are there, disadvantages are there, but various pros and cons are there for every point, for every perspective. But the point is that this, by looking at these macroeconomic parameters, we can gauge, we can tell what is there in store for the economy in the coming years, in the coming 5 years, in the coming 10 years. Of course, we are mainly concerned with 10-15 years, because as one great economist, J.M. Keynes, he had said, in the long run, we are all dead. So we are not to be concerned so much about the long run. We have to be concerned more about the workings of the short run. Short run means it may be 10 years, it may be 5 years, it may be 15 years, like that. So what is in store? What are in store for the next 10 years? By looking at these parameters, we can form a sound idea. Because if positivity is writ large in these particular macroeconomic parameters, then we can quite authentically, with full vindication, we can say that the economy has sound health. Now, what are these economic parameters? What are these macroeconomic parameters on which we have to rely to give a verdict on the status of the economy? So these macroeconomic parameters, you know these things. Often they come in newspapers in the economic space. Often they come in TV news, in social media, in Google. You search anything, you will find in the Google the various macroeconomic data which I shall present. You will be able to find in Google. You just have to put the things and you will find the data. Of course, there will be some difference. There will be some minor differences. There might be some minor differences because the data, 3-4 authentic agencies are there. They collect the data. So some differences are obviously there, but not major differences. If one says it is 8.9 billion, another might think it is 9.2 billion. Another might think it is 10.1 billion, like that. Some small differences, some minor differences will be there. Now, as far as these macroeconomic parameters are concerned, the main macroeconomic parameters are the GNP growth ratio, most important. You know that the Indian economy grew 6.5% in 2021-22. And it has been forecast that it will grow between 6 to 6.5% this year also, in this financial year also. And as far as accurate data goes, the per capita income, per capita income of India in March 23, the latest data available in March 23 is 17 lakhs. Quite a big amount, you will think. Rupees 17 lakhs is the per capita income of the nation in February 2023. Now, why can this huge amount occur? This is because of the activities of the upper 20 sections of the population actually. Per capita income is 17 lakhs crores, but a huge inequality of income is present in the Indian economy. Actually, the upper 20% in the echelon, the upper 20% of the population actually expropriates almost 80 to 90% of this of India's GNP, As far as India's GNP is concerned, in 2020, actually you can check India's GNP in two ways. One will be for the persons who are not from economics. I am saying this from two perspectives. You can look at the GNP. One is GNP at current prices or nominal prices, and the other one is GNP at constant prices. So when we say the GNP at constant prices, we calculate the GNP on the basis of 11-12 prices, 2011-12 prices. Tarne 11-12 kiman price asile. Heitur upor base kori ami GNP to calculate koro. Aji GNP kiman hobo. Kintu current prices upor ami calculate koro. Obviously, it will give us an inflated picture. Hadhante khoda hei karone jetu GNP, when we calculate GNP, when the finance ministry gives growth data, you remember it is always based on real GNP, because real GNP alone can give the actual picture to what extent the country has grew. That is the point. Because current price inflation is very much there in the Indian economy right now. Of course, it has been reduced. It has been gradually reduced from 6.2%. It had been reduced to 5.6%. Then last month, not last month, a few days back, 15 or 20 days back, the retail inflation, the retail inflation is 4.9% perhaps. So inflation is falling. Inflation has been brought under control. But the point is that, so if you look at the GNP, so I have told that the per capita income as calculated last time is 17 lakh crores. But that does not mean that India is a very rich country. 17 lakhs per capita income. It is not a small achievement. It is a big achievement. But the point is that 17 lakh crores per capita income is confined only to 15 or 20% of the population. 80%, 75% of the population are in the middle class. On the other hand, almost as far as recent data goes, 7.1% of the people is living below the poverty line. Currently, it is current figure 7.1% is living below the poverty line. On the other hand, but positive point is that it has gradually declined. The poverty rate has gradually declined. In 2011, the poverty rate was 22.9%. In 2016, it was 16.2%. Then in 2019, it fell to 12.7 or 12.8%, something like that. This. And the recent data, the most recent data says that the poverty in India is, people living below the poverty line is 7.1%. So you just calculate how much is 7.1%. India's population is 140 crores. So 7.1% means 7.1 divided by 100 into 140 crores. You get the figure. How much people are below the poverty line. But a positive point, another positive point is that there were some people who were extremely poor. These extremely poor people, they lived in Orissa, Bihar, Jharkhand, and some part of Madhya Pradesh. But the positive fact is that these people, the people living below abject poverty, that is extreme poverty, has been almost extinct. It has been almost extinct. নোহোৱা হৈ গৈছে almost. একেবাৰে দুখীয়া মানুহ নোহোৱা হৈ গৈছে. Many policies are at work. Many schemes are at work. Many programs are at work. They have been playing a very pioneering role in reducing the poverty of the country. The free ration, 80 crores of the population of the country, they are getting free ration. Then you have Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. This particular scheme is working wonders because earlier Awas Yojana was meant only for the rural poor, only for the rural poor, only for the rural people. But the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which was launched in 2016, in September 2016, it is specially designed to help the poor people living in urban areas. Of course, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Gramin is also there. It is also working. So they are working in tandem. Both Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana urban scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, they are working in tandem, and they are playing a pioneering role. They are playing a pioneering role in fighting poverty in the country, in the alleviation of poverty in the country. And that is why poverty has been reduced to, from 11, it was 22.9%, and now it is 7.1%. Now it is 7.1%. And if proper policies are followed, various proper anti-poverty policies are followed, there is no reason why country will not be able to get rid of poverty in another 10 years or so. Of course, population is increasing at a very high, rapid rate. Today India is the most populous country of the world. So you have to take note of this fact. Unemployment rate is increasing. Population explosion is one of the reasons, but still the government has much to do in this field. How to provide employment opportunities, how to develop the micros and medium industry, how to help the growth of this part, MSME industries, because they are the backbone of the employment. They are backbone of employment generation. They are employment providers. They provide employment to lakhs of youths of the country. The employment rate, which is 8.1% at present, can be fought through the development of this particular sector, that is MSME sector. Now, as far as data on GNP, NNP, national income, etc. are concerned, you can go through it in Google or any book. So I will not go to the particular data. I have the data, but if I go on dictating the data, the time will be very short actually. So you go through the data yourself. I will throw light on the salient features. The point is that next year India is designated to grow at between 6 and 6.5%. And it is the one of the major economies of the world, one of the major economies which will show this type of growth rate, because all the other economies are showing negative rates, are showing slower rates than in case of India. As far as neighbors are concerned, you have seen what the neighbors have done. In Sri Lanka, they are facing a huge financial crisis. They are facing a huge financial crisis. Pakistan, inflation has touched 30%. Inflation has touched 30%. The country's foreign exchange reserve has plummeted to just $1,006,000. India's foreign exchange reserves at present is $595 million. Sorry, not million, billion. Billion 595 point something, billion 596. As far as latest data is concerned, this is India's foreign exchange reserves. And you'll be happy to know that India is, and one thing you know, that India is 5th largest economy in the world. That you know perhaps. Last year, during this time, India surpassed England, United Kingdom, and became the 5th largest economy in the world after USA, China, Japan, and Germany. And I am sure in another 3 or 5 years, India will become the 4th largest economy in the world. Now, another thing. So what I had referred to, the foreign exchange reserves. Yeah. So you see the main reasons for the depression, the huge depression in Sri Lanka was severe scarcity of foreign exchange reserves. Some other factors are also there. Why the Sri Lankan economy collapsed? The main factors that the most important factor was plummeting foreign exchange reserves. Second factor, huge income tax, huge deduction in direct tax collections. And number 3, huge reduction in tourist spendings, because tourists canceled their trips to Sri Lanka on account of pandemic. And fourthly, they sold a large numbers of bonds with government certified bonds. They sold large numbers of government certified bonds. And because of low foreign exchange reserves, almost zero foreign exchange reserves, they could not repay the huge bond interest rates and the bond debts. Their foreign exchange reserve plummeted to an all-time low, almost became zero. So all these things, tourism was negative, tourism was cancelled, tourism almost closed, the tourism industry almost closed. All these actually were the triggering factors which led to the collapse of the Sri Lankan economy 2 years back. Even now, they have not been able to recover properly in spite of loans got from China, from IMF, from USA, and various other. India is also providing different types of helps to Sri Lanka, but they are slowly recovering, but it will take some time. It will take another 2-3 years to get back to normalcy. Now you see, I had referred to foreign exchange reserves. So foreign exchange reserves, India's position is again India's position. India is the 5th largest economy in the world, and as far as foreign exchange reserves is concerned, again India is 5th largest, 5th richest foreign exchange reserve country after China, Japan, Switzerland, and Russia. China, Japan, Switzerland, and Russia. USA is not included because foreign exchange reserves is calculated in dollar, and dollar is the currency of the USA. So China, Japan, Switzerland here enters the picture because Switzerland earns a huge foreign exchanges from tourism. Many people go to Switzerland. Whenever they go to so whenever some people go to Europe, their first destination is obviously the Switzerland. Obviously Switzerland. So India is 5th largest foreign exchange reserve. India has 5th largest foreign exchange reserves in the country. India is the highest remittance receiving country of the world. Highest remittance. Remittance means the money which are disbursed to the Indians by their sons, by their daughters, by their friends, by their relatives from working in foreign countries to India. Remittance. They are known as remittance. ভাৰতৰ বাহিৰত থকা ল'ৰা ছোৱালী বা ৰিলেটিভে যিটো পইচা ভাৰতলৈ পঠিয়ায় সেইটো হ'ল ৰেমিটেন্স বুলি কয় ফৰেইন এক্সচেঞ্জ ৰিজাৰ্ভছ সেইটো ফৰেইন এক্সচেঞ্জ ৰিজাৰ্ভত আহি ডলাৰত পে কৰে গতিকে আৰু ইণ্ডিয়া ইজ হাইয়েষ্ট ইণ্ডিয়া ইজ ৰেমিটেন্স ৰিচিভিং বহুত কাণ্ট্ৰি আছে কিন্তু তাৰ ভিতৰত চাইনাকো ইণ্ডিয়াই বহুত পিছত থৈ দিছে ইণ্ডিয়া ইজ নাম্বাৰ 1 India is number 1 remittance receiving country of the world. Now you see, so this is the first point that India is very strong in foreign exchange reserves. India is very strong in foreign exchange reserves. And as far as FDI, FII concerned, FDI, FII, etc. are concerned, India is receiving huge numbers of FDIs, huge number of FIIs in current years, in the current financial years. Again, you can check this. I have, of course, data in this particular case, for this particular case. As far as FDI is concerned, it is almost 84.34 billion in 2022. In fact, one of the highest since independence. And as far as FPI is concerned, it is 1.21 lakhs crores. Again, this is in February 2023. Financial foreign portfolio investment. These are the investments which are undertaken by the foreign investors in the Indian capital market. They are known as foreign portfolio investment or foreign institutional investment. And it amounts to 1.21 lakhs crores. So FDI and FPI together, they contribute hugely. And as I have said, into September 2022, the FDI receive attained the peak. It is 84.34 billion rupees. Dollar 84.34 billion, a huge amount. So this is another positives. This is another positive for the Indian economy. Then you have seen poverty reduction. I have already told you. Then tax collections. If tax collections, so you might have found in newspapers, the last month created record as far as GST collection is concerned. GST collection was 1.87 lakhs crores for the last year. 1.87 lakhs crores. Oh, so for the last month, sorry, for the month of April. highest GST collection. Income tax collection, it was, as far as data available till January 2023, income tax collection, direct tax collection, in fact, including corporation tax, it was almost 19 lakhs crores, a huge amount, 19.1 lakhs crores. So GST collection, this non-tax revenues, etc., etc. Only GST accounts for 1.87 lakhs crores for the month of April. So you see, it will grow further in future. It will grow further in future. So if 1 month, per month we collect 1.87 lakhs crores, what will be the yearly? What will be the annual collection? You multiply 1.87 lakhs crores into 12. You find a huge amount of tax collection from GST. And direct tax collection should always be there. It will, for the financial year 2022-23, I think it may touch 20 lakhs crores, direct tax collection, 20 lakhs crores. So it will be a huge amount. It will be a huge amount. So obviously, the current account deficit is gradually declining. The current account deposit of the government is that is revenue. The revenue account, most appropriately, it is referred to as revenue account. Revenue account of the government is gradually declining. In the budget speech, Nirmala Sitharaman, she had said that in the coming year, the government plans to spend 41 lakhs crores in various schemes, 41 lakhs crores. On the other hand, the collection from taxes will be about, she estimated, it would be about 29 lakhs crores. So the gap will be narrowed down to a significant extent. The revenue account will be reduced to a significant amount. Of course, fiscal amount, the fiscal deficit, it is rising. It is rising alarmingly, the fiscal deficit. This is actually what is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is nothing but the borrowing obligations of the government. The borrowing obligations of the government. The fiscal deficit, it was for 2021-22 fiscal deficit was 5.9% of the GNP. And for the current year, it has been reduced to something around 5.2 or 5.3% of the GNP. But the target was to reduce the fiscal deficit to 4.9%, 4.8%, like that. But the government has not been able to do that. So some introspections are to be done. Why? The targeted fiscal deficit was surpassed by the actual figure, and the actual figure surpassed the targeted figure. Inflation is one of the main negative facing the economy. But as I had said, retail inflation is gradually falling. Now the main point is poverty. How to fight poverty? How to fight unemployment? Other things are well in place. Other thing, all the policies are working. All the macroeconomic parameters are showing very promising signs. I have already told you about the GNP growth rates, the foreign exchange reserves, the FDI, FII, the tax collections. All these are very positives. All these particular parameters show very promising picture for the economy. But what are the negatives? The negatives are the poverty rate. Although it is said that the people below the poverty line has been reduced to 7.1%, but many economists argue that it is actually not so. Actual data does not show the actual picture, does not show the reality. So according to them, it is more than 10%. More than 10% means 14 crores. So 14 crores, if it is a population of equivalent to 3-4 European countries, 14 crores. So you see, so 14 crores population, 13 crores, between 10 to 14 crores, they are to be brought above the poverty line. They are to be brought above the poverty line. Then the unemployment problem. It has been playing havoc in the economy. The unemployment problem is playing havoc in the economy. The government has much to do in this particular direction. I think enough has not been done to fight unemployment. The unemployment rate, which is, as I had told you, it is 8.1%. So the unemployment rate is to be reduced. The government has to design plans. The government has to design the blueprint how to reduce the unemployment rate. And there are various direct ways, there are various indirect ways. Development of MSME industries. This is one of the main weapon with which unemployment can be fought, and various other policy perspectives are there. Capital expenditure by the government. This will be a very big weapon. This will be a very big weapon. But the irony is that the capital expenditure has been reduced. In the month of March 2023, the capital expenditure has been reduced in comparison to March 2022. So why this reduction? This reduction is very bad. This does not augur well for the economy. This does not augur well for fighting unemployment. Because capital expenditure means whenever the government undertakes capital expenditure, employment is generated, both directly and indirectly. Because capital expenditure means building of assets, building of human capital, improvement of human capital, etc., etc. As you have seen, China till 1990, China was on par with India. China was on par with India as far as the growth rate was concerned, as far as the status of the economy was concerned. But after 1991, the Chinese economy made a big takeoff, a huge takeoff, And you see where China is now. Within 30 years, within 30 or 35 years, China has reached the peak. It has reached the pinnacle. It has been in a position to challenge the American economy. Although America is head and shoulder above China, of course. If America is 22 trillion, China is only 11 or 12 trillion. I have forgotten the figures, Excel figures. You go through these figures in the Google, you'll be able to know. India is fifth. India is at the fifth position, as I have told you. So these are some of the features. These are some of the export is rising at a very rapid rate. But the point is that import is also rising. Therefore, the balance of payment sheet, the current account deficit, payments and receipts, the difference between payments and it is showing volatility. It has been volatile. It is very volatile. Sometimes it is showing positives. Sometimes it is surplus. Sometimes it is in negatives, etc., etc. Right now it is in negative. 2 or 3 months back, the CAD was positive. In other words, payments were smaller than what India had received by making the imports. Now, how this can be maintained, how the positivities can be maintained, that is for the government to goes, that is the government to peruse. And I am sure the finance minister will look over these particular issues. And the main point is that unlike the Chinese economy, in the Chinese economy, the growth story was driven by infrastructure. It was infrastructure-backed growth. The entire growth story of China was on the basis of infrastructure. On the other hand, the Indian economy will have to be driven by consumption-driven growth, aggregate demand-driven growth. Indian economy did not reach the nadir during the pandemic. Why? Because the consumption pattern of India is very high. India is one of the biggest spending nations of the world. India spends 64.8% of its GNP in consumption. India spends 64.8% of its GNP. It is only second to United States of America. United States of America, they consume 69.2%, and in India it is 65.8%. India is in the second position as far as spending is concerned. And Indian people are always spending friendly. They always go to the market to go on a consumption spree, to go on a spending spree. So I am sure that in the coming years, with proper support from the government will have to maintain the capital expenditure. That is for sure. The government will do, I am sure. The government will have to give various incentives to the private investors. Private investment was reduced to a significant extent during pandemic, but now it has recovered to a significant extent. 2%, 3% growth rate has been recorded in private investments. But government investment again has been a sector of worry. It has been a cause of worry in recent times. The government has not invested to the desired extent. So in the coming months, I am sure in the budget, all these are there. In the budget, a huge amount is set aside to be spent for capital expenditures. A huge amount is set aside to be spent for the various to generate employment opportunities. A huge amount last 2 or 3 months, 2 days back, 71,000 people has been given employment appointment letters I had seen. So I hope many such endeavors are undertaken, employment generation schemes. But the point is that the government will have to assiduously look at the matter. What are the problems which are afflicting the economy? Only growth will not do. A jobless growth, it should be inclusive growth. It should be growth along with reduction in poverty, reduction in unemployment, reduction in women's empowerment, reduction in women's exploitation, then reduction in inequality. That is the big point. That is also a very important point to be looked at. And inequality. Only 20% of the upper echelon of the population are expropriating more than 85% of the national income, which is a very bad picture. 20%, of course, it is a huge amount. 20% means almost 28 crores, more than the population of America, 28 crores. So we should be proud of this fact that more than entire United States population of India are rich people. But the point is that we cannot leave our poor brothers and sisters languishing in a downtrodden systems, in downtrodden atmosphere, in downtrodden ambience. So the government will, I am sure, will do this. Enough has been done as far as poverty alleviation is concerned. As far as employment generation is concerned, enough has been done. But how to fight inequality, how to reduce the gap between the haves and the have-nots, enough has not been done, I think. So, huge corporation taxes, higher income taxes, all these things should be planned in a very judicious way, and the expenditure program should be done in such a way that the poorer sections get the benefits of the government schemes, just like Indira Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Ujjwala Yojana, Jan Dhan Yojana, which are playing pioneering role in the, so it should be a case of inclusive growth for the Indian economy. But as far as the current status is concerned, that is the various things that are to be gauged. But one thing is sure, that in another 10 years, we will be living in a country which will be a superpower. In another 10 years, we will be living in a country which will be a superpower. That is for sure. But the attaining the status of superpower is nothing if our brothers and sisters live in poverty. So all these things are to be tackled simultaneously. So I think I have touched most of the things as far as the current status of the economy is concerned. So if you have any questions, I can get them. I can tackle those questions. I can answer the questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for such an enlightening and insightful session. Sir has touched various aspects of Indian economy within such a short time. So I would like to thank you, sir, for that. I'm sure our participants have benefited immensely from today's webinar. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Moving on to the next phase of our program, we have an interactive session. So I request the participants to ask their queries to a resource person if they have any. You can raise your hands if you have any queries.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Principal sir. Yeah.
Resource liberation.
Yeah.
You have touched each and every things. In the present status and scenario of Indian economy. Yes, we are really delighted to know about the present conditions of Indian economy, which is increasing, prospering. I mean, our country is economically prospering.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I personally got banks charging higher interest rate. What is I can't understand. What is your opinion actually? Why bank is interest rates on loan, whereas yes, that's my want to know from you, your opinion.
Actually, interest rates, they are actually double-edged weapons, is not it? They are for some people, they are sources of incomes. They are sources on the other. Actually, these interest rates are mainly applicable for the mainly it pertains to the needs of the investors.
Yeah.
Actually, when interest rate is high, there will be negative impact on investment, obviously. But WS weapon, I have told you that when the interest rate is high, there will be greater capital inflows into the country. Do you getting my point?
Yes.
Are you getting my
Yes.
point? There will
Yes.
be greater capital inflow. So everything has to be balanced actually. If the interest rate was low, interest rate is low, then there will be huge capital inflow. This had happened 2 or 3 months back. You had perhaps found in papers that the Federal Bank of United States of they raised their interest rate. And what had happened? Many investors in the FPI investors, financial portfolio investment, they withdraw their investments in India. So these are the various things. Actually, the bank has to maintain a balance between all these things: capital inflow, outflow, the investors' perspectives, the perspectives of the loans, the people who take loans like us, you and me. So everyone cannot be. So if the interest rate is high, it is negative for us. It is negative for us. It is negative for the investors, but it is negative for the foreign trade sector. There will be huge capital inflows. So it will have a positive impact on the balance of payment situation in the country. So that is why actually balance of payment situation is quite satisfactory in recent times. So you see, in 1991, the foreign exchange reserve, which is dollar 596 billion at current day before yesterday, in 1991, September 1991, it touched dollar 1.92 lakhs. Sorry, just dollar 1.96 billion. India was not in a position to finance the imports for a single month. So India had to deposit gold in the Bank of England. You had seen. No? So that is the point. The finance minister has to bring balance between different things, between different economic players. So perhaps the interest rate is quite high for us, but it has been a very positive factor for some other sectors.
Yes.
That is the point, I suppose.
Thank you.
Is the point.
Respected participants, if you have any doubts or any queries, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Rajashree, do you have anything to ask?
No, sir.
So nice to see you as a professor.
Thank you so much, sir.
Because I always
you.
had seen you in your college uniforms, na?
Yes, sir. So it's been a delight.
Mm-hmm. You are
Okay,
teaching which way? Yeah.
Sir? Sir, I'm
Yes.
teaching sixth semester now. They have like appeared their exam. I used to
Yeah.
teach environmental economics, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
for fourth semester I teach econometrics. That's the
Yeah.
introduction part, and I teach in BCom fourth semester, Indian
Uh-huh.
economy part, and also
Yeah.
BBA few units.
Yeah. BBA is also there. Good.
BBA
Good.
is also there.
Uh-huh. Good. Good. So, any other questions? Ujjal, are you there? Ujjal, are you there? He's not there, na?
Sir, No, I sir, think he's handling the exam.
Ah,
His
yeah,
own.
yeah, yeah.
So he will. Participants, if there is no question, then we'll. Ujjal has asked to unmute him. Okay. Oh, Ujjwal is there. Ujjwal is there.
Yeah, he has
Yes, just
responded. He has
he
responded.
just responded.
Sir, sir, আছো মই খালি মই আনমিউট কৰিব পৰা নাছিলো অকমান স্যাৰ
আচ্ছা,
স্যাৰ মই
আচ্ছা।
গোটেইখিনি শুনিলো স্যাৰ খুব ভাল লাগিলে স্যাৰ
Acha, thank you.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যাৰ
Thank you, Ujjwal.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার
Okay, I think there are no questions as of now. So
Yeah.
we'll move on to the next phase.
Yeah.
For the next phase, I request Ms. Rajeshri Paing ma'am, Assistant Professor and Co-Coordinator of the webinar, to offer her vote of thanks.
A very good evening to everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. A very good evening, Honorable Principal Sir, respected resource person, participants, my esteemed colleagues, and dear students. On behalf of the Department of Economics, Kolyavur College, I would like to take this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks to everyone who has contributed for the successful conduction of this webinar. First and foremost, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our principal sir for giving us the opportunity to organize this webinar. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks and sincere gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Sir Pranab Jyoti Das sir, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Economics, Dorong College, for sparing his precious time to grace this webinar with his extremely relevant address on the topic, current status of Indian economy, various perspectives and implications. Thank you, sir, for throwing light on the current status of the Indian economy, starting from the economy during the COVID era and how you said how India overcame from the evil spell caused by the economy, and we also talked about various macroeconomic parameters and how it is showing a promising picture. And I have written down a few things that you have said about how growth should be inclusive and it should also growth should also include reduction in poverty, reduction in unemployment, reduction in inequality, and we also talked about reduction in women exploitation, and also about the importance of MSME as a weapon with which unemployment can be cured. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a delightful session. I'm sure all the students or all the participants are immensely benefited from this session. Thank you so much. Thank you to the entire team behind the webinar, the entire Department of Economics, Kolyavur College, for organizing this webinar. And I want to give a special mention to the coordinator, Ma'am Rimbiso Terangpi, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Kolyavur College, for putting the webinar together. From designing the poster for the webinar to handling all the registration forms, emails, and also hosting this webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. My heartfelt thanks goes to Dr. Birinder Pal, Joint Coordinator of the webinar and Librarian, Kolyavur College. You have been exceptionally helpful and very supportive. Thank you so much, sir, for all the technical support and guidance. Very big thanks to all the respected participants. We have assistant professors and teachers, researchers, and students from different colleges and universities from different regions today in this webinar. Thank you all for your time, support, contribution, and for joining the webinar. And my sincere gratitude to all our respected colleagues for your support. And I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our dear students for their active participation and cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajeshri. Ma'am, I would like to inform the participants that feedback form, the link to the feedback form has been forwarded in your email ID. So please go through it once, then it will be activated at the end of this session, and it will be valid for only 30 minutes. After that, the link for the feedback form will be closed, will be automatically closed. So I request all the participants to go through your email and the feedback form. Pal sir, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. Yes, Rimbiso, thank you so much. And really, it was a great honor to hear Pranab Jyoti Das sir. And on behalf of our college, sir, again, I would like to extend our heartiest thanks for giving your very valuable time to us, sir. Thank you. So before winding up the program, I request all the participants, please switch on your camera and come closer to the screen. We will take a screenshot of the moment together. Apnalogo camera on korilo with a smiling face so that we can take a screenshot. I can see Rekha Bala ma'am, Purabhi ma'am, our principal sir, Ujjal is there. So please switch on your camera. I'll just take a screenshot so that we can preserve it for our future moments. 1, 2. Sukanya, please switch on. Manisha, Nirmala, Mamu, Rahena, Pratibha, Rupa Brahme is there. 1 second, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, just 1 minute. I'll just save it. So thank you again for giving your valuable time. Thank you again. Stay safe and meet you with some new topic on some other day. Thank you and have a nice time ahead. As a technical host, I declare this program as ended. Thank you very much.